Hi, I'm Roshaunda Kate. This is Real and Raw with Roshaunda, and we're going to talk today about authenticity in your writing. I am not talking about academic authenticity. I was a plagiarism czar in a university I worked at once. Plagiarism czaring is no fun. Um, but since I brought up academic authenticity, let me just say everything you write needs to be your own ideas. And if they aren't your ideas, just attribute them and life will be good. But what I mean when I'm saying authenticity in your writing today is I'm talking about your writing voice. So people talk about, oh, you have to create your writing voice, you have to find your writing voice. I take issue with creating your writing voice. You already have a writing voice. I, I get having to discover your writing voice, but honestly, it's more about being comfortable with your voice in your writing. And this is something I've struggled with for sure. Everybody has personality. I'm kind of lighthearted, I'm quirky, I think life is pretty funny, and I have a flair for the dramatic. And when that comes out in my writing is at my best. I like to retell stories about my kids or raccoons who happen to be trying to break into my house. And those stories where I am giving my audience the view that I have that, wow, that's funny and weird. That's when my writing is alive and it's free. It feels good to me and it feels good to the people who read it. When I am using a more academic tone, my writing tends to get stuffier and you don't feel the lighthearted Rashonda in that writing. So using your writing voice is just about being you in every context. And sometimes when we're writing for work or school, we feel like there's no room to be us, that we have to be stuffy and use great big words to get across our point. And that's so far from the truth. No matter what you're writing, you have an audience that you want to engage and that you want to understand what you're saying and get to the end and not get lost. So your writing voice is good in every situation. Now, will you write something to a friend the same way you would write it to your boss? Most likely not, but that doesn't mean that you can't be yourself in your writing that is more formal. So one of the best ways I have found to feel comfortable in my writing voice is to journal, because journaling is a space where nobody's going to see. So I can be quirky, I can be weird, I can be emotional, I can have the flair for the dramatic that comes naturally to me. So I want you to do a little bit of journaling. I want you to think about right now something that happened recently, something at work, something interesting you saw, just something. It could be any sort of occurrence, but I want it to be one thing. I don't want you to write about an entire day's worth of stuff, just one story about one thing. And I want you to write it in, yes, in four different ways. The first way I want you to write it is I just want you to journal about it. And when I say journal, I just mean writing that's for you. You don't have to have a fancy journal. You can use a piece of paper. I like napkins sometimes to write on. You know, I love Post-its. You can use a Word doc, whatever you want to do. But I want you to write down this story just as you remember it, as it happened, how you felt, what people said, what you saw, what you smelled, what you tasted. Try to engage all of your senses. So that's way one. I want you to write about this thing. Way two, I want you to write about it as if you were telling it to your boss or your teacher. Exact same story, but how would you write it to your boss or your teacher? So that's way two. Way three, I want you to write it like you're writing to your grandma. How is it different when you write to your grandma? And way four, I want you to write it like you're writing it to your good friend. So think about something that happened, whatever, but just one occurrence, and write about it in four ways. I'm sorry, I just thought about Will Smith's Summertime, a barbecue that started at 4. So write about it in four ways. The first way is just journal it. Tell the story to yourself. That's a lot of what writing is. Writing is telling yourself the story. Include your emotions, your senses, dialogue, whatever you want. Way two is write it to your boss. Way three, write it to your grandma. And way four, write it to your friend. And then after you've done that, I want you to reread all of them. See how they're similar and dissimilar. See what engages you and what doesn't engage you. The pieces that you find are most similar are probably the clues to your writing voice. Were they all kind of funny? Were they all a little emotional? Did they all focus on your senses? So think about how you tell stories to different people. Write those stories as if you're telling them to different people. And find the places that are similar and the places that spark you and make you feel alive. And you're getting closer to finding your writing voice and getting closer to being authentic in all of the writing that you do. So that's Real and Raw with Roshaunda, helping you get real and raw with your own writing. That's all I have for today. I'll have more next time. Thanks for joining me.